there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York.
Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I am your host, Richie, riding solo tonight for the Week 3 NFL preview. This is just going to be the Sunday games. Buffalo Bills, just a few minutes ago, get the victory over the Miami Dolphins, 31-21. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of fantasy owners are getting frustrated with the Philadelphia Eagles lately in terms of the skill positions. You know, the Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. These situations right now with being run first, run always, and really just leaning on teams are kind of hurting the fantasy owners. And I'm not saying that Josh Allen doesn't fling the rock. He did tonight. But for 2 consecutive weeks, not an all-star performance in terms of the fantasy play for Josh Allen. Now, this is last year's NFL MVP, and he can hurt you in a lot of different ways, obviously being the dual-threat quarterback that he is. In Hurts' case in Philadelphia, a similar thing. But I will give kudos to the Miami Dolphins tonight. I feel that they rose to the occasion and played a team that is obviously a lot better than them. In the Bills' case, I think they just kind of business as usual, did what they had to do. James Cook is really becoming a force, after, talks of a potential trade coming into the year that he wasn't too happy. James Cook, right now, in my opinion, the most reliable back in the NFL right now. And I'm not just talking about, fantasy football right now. James Cook is it. Bear with me. If anybody is wondering where my co-host Idris Salam is today, I'm going to keep it above. I think Idris fell asleep. But that's all right. Because you're talking about a recent cancer survivor. Idris needs his rest. I'll put it to you like that, and it's all good. We got, week 3? We only got about 14 more regular season one of these, so I am not stressing it. Johnny Nast is going to give him a hard time, though, for sure, because I was inside joke about Idris being, kind of like a bear in hibernation when he hits it. But, Idris most definitely, I'm just happy we got it. Because, I hate the word. I hate cancer. I'm just so happy that Idris is cancer-free and with us all the way now, So, Idris, sweet dreams. I got you, bro. Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Minnesota. The 1-1 Vikings, the 2-0 Bengals. Battle of the backup quarterbacks. Jake Browning, kind of a mixed bag last week as, he threw some picks, and the Bengals were far from their cleanest game. As the Vikings go, second-year man, essentially his real rookie year, because he didn't play in year 1, J.J. McCarthy, the Michigan product, is going to be out for a week or 2, possibly longer, at least a week or two. And Carson Wentz, former Philadelphia Eagle Super Bowl champion, he didn't play in the game, but he did help him get there. One of the better backup quarterbacks in the league, although nobody really remembers that he's still in the league. Last year, backing up Patrick Mahomes, he's essentially been a backup for the better part of 4 years now. But I think this is the kind of game where Carson Wentz can really play well. When guys are career starters, they get the injury bug and then they have to travel. It takes a humble hit because when you're a quarterback, you're obviously a very confident person. Troy, what's up, bro? How you doing? Yes, sir. He was a former Washington Commander as well. I ain't sweating it, Troy. I'm chilling. I'm chilling. We will get you on, though. Most definitely. We will get you on, most definitely. But, Troy, what are your thoughts on Carson Wentz? Do you feel that he's going to be able to get the dub here? I like it because when I think about any new quarterback coming into the Minnesota Vikings, now, mind you, Jordan Addison's not even healthy right now. Not even healthy. And plus, he's suspended. But, even training camp, little nicks and knacks, I don't think he would have been all the way in right now because I see the regular season. I see the regular season now as kind of like an extension of what the preseason used to be. I don't think guys are hitting full stride until week 4 or 5. So, truthfully, when you have a suspension, in a lot of ways, it could be a blessing in disguise, especially if the team is playing well. As J.J. McCarthy goes, I know it's got to be a little disconcerting to the organization that this is a guy that missed year 1, had 2 knee procedures, and after only 2 starts in his career, he is already hurt again. As the Bengals go, I feel that this Joe Burrow situation could be problematic because you take a team like the New York Giants right now, my team. Of course, I would have to think that after Russell Wilson's performance in Dallas, albeit in a losing effort, it might give him a little more rope, a little more leash before they consider going to Jackson Dart. And of course, you have Jameis Winston in the quarterback room, who's mentoring. The point I'm making is if Jake Browning, doesn't get it going to a playoff caliber level, because that's what the Bengals expect to be as a playoff team, I could possibly see them making a move for a player like a Russell Wilson, who's only on a 1-year deal with the Giants. It's something to consider. I'm not saying that the Bengals would immediately hit panic and be like, yo, we need Russ. Russ is the NFL passing leader right now, but it's only 2 weeks in, and that was all essentially in the Dallas game. But it is something worth considering. Now, of course, Jameis Winston would be an attractive option, but with the 2 years that the New York Giants gave him, I personally believe that Jameis is there to solely be the mentor for Jackson Dart and an emergency starter if Dart gets hurt. I would have liked to see Dart get treated like a real redshirt year and have Jameis back up Russ. But, in today's NFL, they being the teams, are less and less patient to let these guys just jump on in. As the game goes, Cincinnati Bengals defense has been a little better than I expected it to be in the early going. I don't know if that's saying more about how bad the Browns offense was in week 1. But I see a big game here in the running back room. I think both Mason and Jones could eat here. TJ Hawkinson could eat here. It could be that kind of game. Adam Thielen, this is his last chance to really have any kind of blow up, barring injury, because you got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison who are going to be together starting the week after this. And my fantasy team is looking forward to that. Give me the Minnesota Vikings 27, Cincinnati Bengals 20. think the difference in this game is going to be a couple of Browning turnovers, where I think Carson Wentz is going to play the clean game. Now, we know that the J.J. McCarthy is an investment, Minnesota Vikings, but just some food for thought. If Wentz really plays well, let's say for a couple of games, McCarthy misses, say, 2 games, and Wentz really plays well, McCarthy comes back, starts struggling again. Will the Vikings be patient, or will they kind of push JJ to the back of the line and let Carson do his thing? Because Carson, I have a funny feeling, is going to ball out with this team. I really think it's a great situation for him. I thought it was a great situation for JJ McCarthy. Fantasy leagues where you could freeze a guy like that, and then you have that kind of talent, because the Minnesota Vikings are a very talented football team. I mean, with Sam Darnold last year, they won, 14 games? Yeah, 14 games and got kicked out in round 1. So give me the Vikings for a touchdown victory. Moving it along, Houston Texans 0-2 at the Jaguars 1-1. Can the Jaguars sink last year's AFC champs to a concerning 0-3 start? I'm going to say they could. I don't know if they will, but I think they could. Because one thing that I've noticed with this Texans team is, with the absence of Joe Mixon, they just look different on offense. It's not free-flowing. Things are not going as well as they would like them to. And you got to consider that Nick Chubb is not the Nick Chubb of old. He could be in time, but with the lower extremity injuries, it does take more time to get all the way back. The Texans, I definitely give them the edge on the defensive side of things. I think it's going to be an interesting match in terms of the coaching, as Liam Cohn, an excellent coordinator. That's how he got this job, going up against DeMeco Ryans. And I think it's a classic defensive versus offensive philosophy game. It's an offensive-driven league. We know this. Can the Jaguars pull it off? I'm going to go yes. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars in I would call this a mini upset, because I don't think the Texans are as good as advertised after 2 weeks. And I have also alluded to the fact that this was a weak division. And when you see what Indy's doing out the gate, Jacksonville seems to have a new energy to them with a new head coach. I'm going to take the Jaguars in a close one here. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars 23. Give me the Houston Texans 17. Yeah, I like the Jaguars by 1 score as well. 2-0 start, and if Idris was here, he'd be like, nah, they suck at Duval. This is a new Jaguar team. Maybe that guy in the blue shirt, Mike Zappi, might be onto something, because he picked the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this division. I see last week as a squandered opportunity. They should have beaten the Cincinnati Bengals, especially with Burrow being out. But I think they make up for it this week. Colts at 2-0, taking on the Tennessee Titans at 0-2. Can the Daniel Jones magic continue? Currently second in NFL passing yards in 2025. That's bananas. Why is he succeeding right now? Well, things are clicking. When you have a quality running game, the O-line's playing well. On the other side, your defense is playing well. And Shane Steichen is putting him in positions to be successful. A lot of low-risk, high-efficiency stuff, but Jones has proven that he's been able to air it out and get the ball downfield. I think a lot of people forget, particularly prior to that knee injury in New York, that Jones did have a pretty good deep ball, the ability to get the ball downfield. What happened when he got the ball downfield? Another story. These Titans, they lack an identity right now. I don't think the young Cam Ward is going to do any better in this particular game than he has already, seeing 2 pretty good defenses out the gate. I mean, Denver, I feel, has been underachieving since the season started, but Denver definitely gave him a hard time in that game. Last week, Cam didn't look much better. It's going to be interesting to see how long this could continue to go with the Colts, because I don't think anybody in their right mind thought that a Daniel Jones team, after the way that he left the New York Football Giants, would be looking at a potential 3-0 start. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. I really like what I'm seeing from these Indianapolis Colts. And with Anthony Richardson perpetually being injured, I really do think that what I said on the South preview, that Daniel Jones could potentially be the comeback player of the year. I think that the more wins he starts tallying, particularly in the early part of the year, they all count. It's going to pay dividends in terms of that. And not to mention that with Houston having their injuries, no Joe Mixon right now, CJ Stroud still doesn't look like CJ Stroud of 2 years ago. You've got Jacksonville. You don't always know what you're going to get with them. They are definitely under construction with the new head coach. Um, the Colts have just as good a chance as anyone to win this division. Last year, they did have a winning record. Give me the Colts in a tough game. I think that Tennessee will hang around, but the Colts ultimately do enough to win. 27 Colts for the Titans. Give me 17. A 10-point victory for the road team. Las Vegas Raiders at the Washington Commanders. Both of these teams are 1-1. This is a huge opportunity for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Unfortunately, the veteran Austin Ekeler tore his Achilles, and he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. You have two young running backs here. Krosky-Merritt gets the first shot. You also have Rodriguez. They traded Brian Robinson. This is a Washington Commander team that, coming off a great deal of success last year. The reason I like Washington off the jump coming into this is that they've had plenty of time to prepare because they had the Thursday game in week 2 against Green Bay, a game that they managed to fight their way back into, but they were severely outplayed by Green Bay. I don't think the score was as close as the real game was. As the Raiders go, one score victory week 1 over the New England Patriots. Last week, just too many mistakes on all phases of the game why the Raiders did not get a dub. But there is more excitement around this Raider team. I think Pete Carroll gives them some credibility, as does Geno Smith. Brock Bowers, one of the young best tight ends in the league. Ashton Jeanty, we don't know what we're going to get yet. There's a lot of pressure with a lot of blow up, particularly with this running back rookie class. I think this game has the potential to be very close because I think both of these teams are still trying to find themselves. I commend Washington for what they did last year, getting to the NFC title game in their first year under Dan Quinn, the rookie Jaden Daniels, a spectacular season through and through. But when I consider that the NFC East this particular year draws the hardest schedule, I think the Commanders were good, but if you go back to last year, they didn't really beat a lot of teams with winning records damn near until December, and it took the Jalen Hurts concussion. That was their first real strong caliber kind of win against the Philadelphia Eagles. That was against Kenny Pickett though last year. That was not against Jalen Hurts. Hurts got injured relatively early in the first half. Saquon Barkley was running wild on these guys. I saw the Commanders get limited against the Giants, a game that I thought the Commanders should have won by more. Giants did nothing on offense, and up until midway through the fourth, it was a one-score game. Last week, I saw the Green Bay Packer defense just completely house the Washington front line. Everything that Washington tried to do just didn't work. But, later in the game, I think Green Bay got a little complacent. I think they allowed Washington to get back in the game. I love what Zach Ertz is doing. It's like a real career revival, and I think Jaden Daniels, is the best quarterback that he could have for that situation. Washington's got a good defense. Not a great defense, but a good defense. And I think at home it will be good enough to get the dub, but I expect a pretty close game here, potentially in the high 20s, low 30s. Give me the Washington Commanders 27. Give me the Las Vegas Raiders 23. I'm predicting a Jaden Daniels touchdown drive down the stretch to win the game. It'll be a 4-point game. I think that actually makes it more dangerous for the defense. And when you're playing a guy like Daniels, I think he gets the job done. But I think what you're going to learn in this game is that the Commanders are not necessarily the dominant force that some have, you know, put them on because of their ascension last year, very quick ascension. I do like the Commanders to win, but I think the Raiders are going to keep it close. This game, definitely the potential to be the best game of the week. We've got the Los Angeles Rams at 2-0, traveling to Philadelphia, taking on the 2-0 defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. Last year in the snow, this game was an instant classic. You know, the Rams were kind of displaced because of the tragic fires that were going on in their home state. So, yes, they were displaced. They kind of had that road warrior mentality going into the playoffs last year. Philadelphia Eagles, of course, having the bye. They were one of the top seeds last year in the NFC. Well, not the bye, but, you know, the first. They essentially were penciled in as an easy winner because the Green Bay Packers were just not competition for the Eagles last year. This was their first test last year in the playoffs, and truly their main test in the playoffs. I said it numerous times on the show. I said it in the offseason. I said it to anyone who would listen. The Rams almost came all the way back in that snow game. And were it not for the false start on the Rams in that playoff game, I wholeheartedly believe they would have won it. The Eagles' defense was completely gassed in that game. Saquon Barkley has had a reputation, even going back to his Giant days, to having some pretty big games against the LA Rams, especially since he's been in Philly. It's even grown more. You know, Sean McVay just flat out said last time these guys played in the regular season, we win this game if they don't have Saquon Barkley. That's a huge show of respect to how good Barkley is. This particular year, Barkley's off to a slow start. I noticed that, and I said at the top of the hour, the Eagles in general, aerially, are off to a slow start. I think this is going to be a very physical game. I think this is the kind of game that can go down to the final possession. I like the road team here. I think if you're going to get a team like Philadelphia at the link, you probably have a better chance at catching them early until like the weather gets cooler, the season moves along more. I have a vibe that the road team is going to take care of business here. You know, Philadelphia won an ugly game over KC and Arrowhead. Week 1, they did not play their best, but it was good enough to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Give me the Los Angeles Rams in a close one here. I'm going to go Rams 26, Eagles 20, and why not? Let's do overtime. I just think the Rams are overdue to beat this Eagle team. It's hard to beat a team 3 consecutive times when both teams are considered elite. And I'll be honest, do I believe in like a Super Bowl hangover? I mean, they're 2-0. They're winning their games. That's the only thing that matters is that you're winning. But I don't think the Eagles are even in the realm of catching their stride just yet. And I think defensively, the Rams have looked pretty impressive in the early going. Not saying that the Eagles don't have a good defense, because they do. But right now, just based on the first couple of weeks, on this day, I trust the Rams just a little more. That doesn't mean that can't change as the year moves along. Rams, a 1-score victory. I'm going 24-20. The Atlanta Falcons are traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. I believe that Atlanta, for all intents and purposes, should be 2-0. Unfortunately, they are 1-1. Week 1 against Tampa, they most definitely let them off the hook. As the Panthers go, I was optimistic from what I saw from Bryce Young last season. I thought that this was a team that had the potential to maybe surprise some folks this year, not be a playoff team, but maybe win 5 to 6 games. But through the first 8 quarters of the season, I really don't like what I'm seeing. The roster is very young, and I think something that this team misses is legitimate veteran leadership. The one bright spot on this team on either side of the ball, like the true bright spot in my opinion, is Chuba Hubbard, a guy that I think could potentially get traded at the deadline if there is the right kind of value and maybe end up on a contender. It's becoming more trendy that certain guys get traded at the deadline. I actually think Tyreek Hill could be another one of these guys. I can't imagine he's very happy right now, 0-3 with the Dolphins. His career is winding down. He would want to win. As Chuba Hubbard goes, one of the most underrated backs in the NFL, a guy that just doesn't get enough love. That guy in Atlanta, though, could really run the ball, and I think he's really going to have a day. I also think this could be the kind of game where Algier gets into the act, because I have a feeling Atlanta is going to put the hammer down on Carolina this week for the road dub and asserting themselves as a legitimate threat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this division. Give me the Atlanta Falcons 30. Give me the Carolina Panthers 17, and I think that last 7 points is going to come late in the game when it's already out of reach. All right. The battle of the two most winningest teams in terms of Super Bowls. Pittsburgh Steelers 1-1, New England Patriots 1-1. They say that your record says you are. It's only 2 games in. A lot of overreactions when you're still in September, but what I have seen from both of these teams is enough for me to tell you which team is trending up right now and which team is trending backward. It was cool to see Aaron Rodgers light up his former team and throw 4 touchdowns. Okay, that was cool. That was cool. Last week, we saw a completely different kind of game where the Steelers' problems were on full display for everyone to see. And one of their big problems is not even on that side of the ball. They have really struggled slowing down other teams' rushing attacks through the first couple of weeks, and that is something to legitimately worry about. As the Patriots go, still a team learning how to win under the tutelage of Mike Vrabel. I believe that this is a Patriot team 2 weeks in that looks better than the team that they're playing. But I've got to think that a Mike Tomlin-led team going into this situation has to seize the opportunity. I want to say that I trust Aaron Rodgers more than Drake May. But what I don't trust is that Steeler defense right now against the run. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think the Steelers win a very ugly one. A very ugly one. Give me the Steelers 20. Give me the New England Patriots 16. 20-16. I got the Steelers by 4. I believe that they're going to do enough to win. This could come down to, a game-changing drive where the Steelers defense gets tested and steps up. But I'll tell you, in the early going, when you look at the names on that defense, they're supposed to be a lot better. Aaron Rodgers will do enough to get the dub. Now, if New England wins, I don't think they will, but if they do, it would be imperative for them to mix and match and just go all the way in on the running game. Right now, Ramondre Stevenson is doing enough to hold off rookie Trevion Henderson. Antonio Gibson's still part of that running back trio as well, but it's definitely Stevenson's backfield for now. In time, Henderson will take it over. Give me the Steelers in a very close victory. Green Bay Packers traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Rookie Matthew Golden, this is his true opportunity to ball out. He's been frustrating me in my fantasy league as he, coming out of Texas, was expected to be the #1 receiver. Now, Green Bay, in terms of fantasy owners of their wide receivers, unless you go back to the Devontae Adams era, it's always a crapshoot. Jaden Reed gets his points in a lot of different ways. He's unfortunately hurt right now with a collarbone injury. The story of Green Bay right now, besides Jordan Love playing out of his mind, is their defense. Their defense has just been so damn good. And if you like defense, this is a game where you get 2 of the absolute best. Micah Parsons for Green Bay and Myles Garrett for Cleveland. My concern here, even if Green Bay comes out a little flat, is that I just don't think that Cleveland has the offensive firepower to deal with the Packers. I do think that they're going to keep the game relatively respectful in the first half, and I think Green Bay will ultimately distance themselves in the second half. I could see something like a 13-10 game, a 13-13 game going into the half, but I could also see Green Bay shutting them out in the second half. And I think Green Bay is going to put the hammer down on them and show that they are not just a team that plays well against hyped competition. They are a team that is not going to play down to the level. And it is a hard thing to do in the NFL, and parity is a real thing. Packers 30, Browns 17 in the dog pound. Packers will improve to 3-0. The New York Jets are traveling to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. Why is this not on the ticket? My mistake, guys. All right, here we go. New York Jets 0-2, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2-0. I like what the Bucs have done already. They have beaten two quality teams on the road. And when you can get off to that kind of start and then you come home, I mean, I get it. Trap game, for sure. The Jets got to be a little desperate, right? Jets don't look good at all, guys. The Jets don't look good at all. I expected them to look better, at least on the defensive side of the ball. But for 2 consecutive weeks, I've seen them get beat in 2 completely different ways. Week 1, they gave up some big-time pass plays, big chunk plays in the air to Aaron Rodgers. Week 2, Buffalo honed back Josh Allen and really leaned on him in the running game. So basically, through 2 weeks, I see a Jets defense that is incredibly underachieving because most people coming into this year figured the Jets defense is going to be all right. It's their offense that we don't know about. You know, Justin Fields had an awesome week 1, not so much an awesome week 2. That's a different conversation. But, you know, Aaron Glenn in a very unenviable position only a couple of weeks in because this Jet team right next to, unfortunately, the other team that shares that stadium, my beloved New York Giants, have just had losing. You know, since the epic Christmas Eve game of the 2011-2012 season, both these teams have just been in a chaotic tailspin for the most part. Giants at least can say they got a playoff win. The Jets, in that regard, you even got to dig further back to when they went to back-to-back title games. I want to look for something to believe in with the Jets, but right now I don't. Tampa Bay is not the defense that they were at the end of the Brady era or even in the beginning of the Mayfield era. But they are good enough to limit the Jets. They are good enough to, hold them to enough field goals to where they're not converting at the highest metric. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Emeka Egbuka, I think he's the guy that's going to have the blow up here. As Mike Evans, I think, could have his hands full on the other side with Sauce Gardner. I like the Buccaneers to avoid the trap. It's sometimes it's hard to get the intensity up when you're playing teams that you're better than. But the Buccaneers are indeed better than the New York Jets, and they will show it. And Baker Mayfield, one of the best stories in the NFL over the last couple of years, after Cleveland gave up on him, after seeing him get kicked around between the Carolina Panthers, where else was he? The LA Rams, super briefly. And, the Browns are paying for their stupidity because they gave Deshaun Watson the bag. Right now you have old man Flacco in there. Will Shador be the guy? You got Dylan Gabriel in there, too. He's hurt. It's a big mess, as it always is in the Cleveland quarterback room. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are incredibly consistent. Going back to the Brady era, the last time they didn't win this division, they ended up winning a Super Bowl. And they've won the division every year after that. So give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30. Give me the New York Jets 13, and I already think Aaron Glenn is going to be questioning if it was really worth coming back to his former employer as a player. It's tough, man, when, you're a successful coordinator, but you take on a culture that has had just such an acceptance of losing for so long. It is very uphill. And the question is, will ownership back you long enough for you to change it? And unfortunately for a lot of young coaches, that is not the case. Young in the sense of their first go around being the head coach. Denver Broncos at Los Angeles Chargers. This is another one of those games that has the potential to be the game of the week. Always very unpredictable when these two teams get together over the years. Now, if you ask me who's playing better out of these two, out of the gates, undeniably it's the Chargers. I really love what John Harbaugh is getting out of Justin Herbert. I like what they've done on the roster. They are loaded in the wide receiver room right now. Will Disley quietly under the radar, pretty good tight end. In the backfield, rookie Omarion Hampton. They did lose Rashawn Slater, but the offensive line has still been playing very well. I think this is the best statistical value year you're going to get from Justin Herbert since his rookie campaign when he beat out Joe Burrow for Rookie of the Year. Now, of course, Burrow only played part of the season. He injured his knee. Nonetheless, this is a team that has hung their hat on running the ball, taking care of the football, leaning on teams, playing stingy defense, winning that way. And they have a hell of a kicker. Dicker the kicker is one of the better ones. Sean Payton's team, a little frustrating for the fantasy owners of RJ Harvey as J.K. Dobbins is kind of still pacing the backfield as the main touch guy. Harvey is more of your boomer bust kind of option in fantasy, but he has to hit the big home run, so to speak, and hit pay dirt. I do not like what I've seen out of Bo Nix, who had an awesome rookie year. It just seems like this particular year, offensively on the whole, this Denver team has been a little bit slow. When I consider what the Chargers have done through the first 2 weeks, the fluidity of their offense, they beat the defending AFC champs. They take care of business against division rival Las Vegas. And it's very rare that out of the gates you play 3 consecutive division games in today's NFL. You don't see it very often. But they're about to go 3-0 in their division, which is going to be massive down the stretch. I do think that the Broncos are going to keep it close, but I think the Broncos are still trying to find their way offensively. I mean, Bo Nix had some blow-up games last year, but you also saw what he looked like in the playoffs. And then it begged the question, is some of this offensive mediocrity for the team right now a little bit of a hangover from the way that their season ended last year? I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I do know that Denver has the right amount of weapons to be a force in this conference, but I need to see them show what their true identity is. I think that you already know what you're getting with the Chargers. The Chargers have the multifaceted offense where Justin Herbert can really ball out on any given Sunday, but you also have the ability to run the ball and lean on teams, and that's called balance, and that's important in the league. Give me the Los Angeles Chargers 27. Give me the Denver Broncos 17. We'll give them 20. We'll give them 20. One-score game, one-score victory for the home team. And, the Chargers halfway to home of perfection, of getting off to a 3-0 start in your division. That is so important. I still think the Broncos could potentially be a playoff team, but I think that they're, like I said, they're still trying to find themselves on offense. Defensively, you know what you're going to get. But, man, last week, seeing what Indy did to them, that was interesting. That was surprising. I thought they were going to kill Indy. And I thought the Daniel Jones thing was going to be a flash. It might be real. New Orleans Saints 0-2, Seattle Seahawks 1-1. I talked about Pittsburgh's leaky run defense a little while ago. I'm going to speak on the guys that did it to them. The Seattle Seahawks, they have something that a lot of teams don't have. They have 2 running backs that you can mix and match. You can keep the legs fresh, and you can really push teams around. Sam Darnold got the big money contract. Geno Smith out, Sam Darnold in. This is a team that prior to that, Russell Wilson was the staple of this offense, the identity of this team for so long, the guy that you always identified with this offense. But, Pete Carroll's out. Everything is different now in Seattle. But one thing that's not different is that they are still running the ball with both these guys. Walker and Charbonnet doing a pretty good job. Jackson Smith and Jigma, definitely the receiver of the future that this organization saw, and it's part of the reason why they let DK Metcalf, do the deal to go to Pittsburgh. Lockett is now a Titan, and he's a fraction of what he was in Seattle. It's just not even the right offense for him, not the right situation for him. As the Saints go, I picked them to be the worst team in the NFL coming in. And I stand by that. They've been playing a little better out of the gates than I expected, but as these losses start to pile up, I think the Saints are going to start to quote unquote lose interest and just kind of fall down. Um, Outside of Alvin Kamara, this is an offense that I have no faith in whatsoever. I mean, I know Shaheed has the big strike ability, on the 9 routes, but I just don't feel confident. Tyler Show should be the guy, but he didn't win the starting job, which is even more alarming, which makes me wonder where his progression is. But I just see Seattle running the ball early, often, frequently on this New Orleans team, and I think they're going to run them. I think it could get ugly early. Give me the New Orleans Saints not getting shut out, but not scoring a touchdown. I'm going to go New Orleans Saints only scoring 9 points in this one. Seattle 30. 30-9. A beating. A true beating. 34-9. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. The Dallas Cowboys at 1-1 taking on the Chicago Bears at 0-2. My goodness, anybody that saw week 2 last week, just a true embarrassment the way that the Detroit Lions, after getting slapped around by Green Bay in week 1, just dismantled the Chicago defense and did absolutely anything that they wanted to do. Everybody on offense got in on that part. The Lions, there's pressure on them coming into this year because after the heartbreak 2 years ago in Santa Clara, last year you're the 1 seed and you get dumped out early. You don't even have a playoff win to show for last year. The injuries are piling. So there's a lot of pressure, and the Bears were on the wrong side of that pressure, the wrong side of them having to make a statement after being, in my opinion, embarrassed by the Packers. As the Cowboys go, this is a team that, in my opinion, should be 0-2. Or maybe they should be 1-1, but they shouldn't have won the game they won, and they shouldn't have lost the game they lost. Maybe that's more fair of an assessment. They did everything they possibly could have done to lose that game last week against the Giants, but the Giants' mistakes were just greater. Bottom line. And it also helps when you have the best kicker in the NFL, and Brandon Aubrey is just that. What I do like about what I see with Dallas right now is George Pickens opposite of CeeDee Lamb. I think as the season progresses, that is going to be a nice tandem. I also like that I'm seeing that Miles Sanders is still showing some juice. So, reminding people of who he used to be when he was an Eagle. Javonte Williams also, a guy that was often injured in his Denver time. Maybe the Cowboys' backfield is not nearly as bad as many would think. I'll tell you what did look bad last week, though, was the way that the Dallas secondary got undressed. Now, if this was a different opponent, I would be a little more worried. But I don't have a lot of faith in Caleb Williams. I don't have a lot of faith in what the Chicago Bears are doing right now. Ben Johnson was asked last week if his former boss, Dan Campbell, ran it up, and he flat out said, he gave the right answer. He said, you got to play it out. He did what he's supposed to do. But I don't think that Ben Johnson has a good grip on this team right now, and I don't think Caleb Williams has a good grip on the NFL game. Give me the Dallas Cowboys winning in convincing fashion. I think their defense will tighten up enough to not be as, like I said, undressed like they were last week with the New York Giants. Russell Wilson also played out of his mind last week. I don't see Caleb Williams doing that here. Dallas Cowboys 34, Chicago Bears 17, and it's gonna be a long season for the Bears. So much hype, but a lot of things have still not changed. Arizona Cardinals making the trip out to Santa Clara. They're going to be taking on the 49ers. Kind of quieting the potential for any kind of quarterback controversy is head coach Kyle Shanahan. He essentially said he likes the way Mac Jones is playing, but there's nothing to see in terms of a shakeup at the quarterback position starter-wise. Once Brock Purdy is healthy enough, he is the man. They also made a big investment in Brock Purdy. Arizona Cardinals doing enough to win. Week one was a little, I guess you could say, concerning because I said how bad the Saints are. They barely beat them. This is the kind of game where it could really be a defensive struggle. We're going to see who wins the time of possession here. We're going to see, obviously, like any other football game, who's going to win the turnover battle. But I will say this. Um, Seeing Mac Jones play as well as he did last week, it was encouraging. Do I think that that's going to be the case this week again? I don't know, but it's interesting. Similar, like what I said about the Carson Wentz McCarthy thing. If Mac Jones continues to play well, now, granted, Purdy might be back the game after this, but let's say if Purdy just doesn't look right, does Mac Jones have a chance of reclaiming stuff? I might be stretching a little too far out, but coaching matters, and I do think that this is a good system for Mac Jones. Um, as the game goes, I think Jonathan Gannon's guys are up to the task here. This is this is a kind of game that truly, truly could go down to the wire, and most of these meetings have the last few years. But give me the Arizona Cardinals. Very close one. I'm going Cardinals 26, 49ers 24. Um, Last second field goal for the Cardinals will win it and will improve them to, that would be, I want to back that up. I'm sorry, guys. No. 26-17, 9-point victory for the road team. I think Mac Jones is going to remind people why the Patriots were never like that thirsty for him. He kind of felt to them. Final answer, 26-20. The Cardinals win by a score. You notice a lot of these games, the way I'm picking them, is by a score. Do I think it's a big difference if Brock Purdy plays? I'm not sure. I think Brock Purdy got off to a great start, but I think over the course of his last 7-8 starts, some of the warts are starting to show a little. Also, the Kittle injury is rather big. That makes a difference here, too. Sunday Night Football, my beloved New York Giants trying to avoid the 0-3 hole, hosting the 3-time consecutive AFC defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, they were one game short of the three-peat. 0-2 for the Chiefs is very unfamiliar. They lost in Brazil. They lost at home in Arrowhead. Now they're on the road. New York Giants, they did everything they could possibly do last week other than actually win the game. What I am encouraged about is that what I saw from Cam Scatterbo, I feel like this is his backfield now. It's his job to lose. Tyrone Tracy did an admirable job in year one, especially when you consider who he was replacing. Penalties, penalties, penalties. Absolutely destroyed the New York Football Giants in week 2. Hudson alone, that was crazy. I also think Brian Dable, I said it on my last show, not taking 3 earlier cost the Giants the game. But some of the penalties and the big play ability that the Giants, shot themselves in the foot with really didn't help anyone. I have a hard time believing that Steve Spagnuolo Andy Reid combination is going to go 0-3. I don't see a scenario how it goes. And of course I want to pick my team. And of course I don't want my team to get off to that dreaded 0-3 start. I'll even go as far as saying that the Chiefs are not who they were as recent as last year. There are certain things that I've seen with this Chiefs team that have concerned me. And they have injuries in that wide receiver room. I'm still not the biggest fan of Shane Bowen. His defense down the stretch, I think, also cost the Giants the game last week. And, Patrick Mahomes, people forget because sometimes his numbers aren't as sexy as his counterparts. When you lose certain weapons, you have to find different ways to win. But I think this is one of those games where Patrick Mahomes is going to really show out. I think Travis Kelce is going to show out. The one thing that I give the Giants a puncher's chance on, the Chiefs have really struggled running the football. And if the New York Giants are able to keep them one-dimensional, if they can get heat on Patrick Mahomes, they do have a shot. I expect the Giants to play hard. I just think the Chiefs are going to figure out a way to win this game, no matter how it plays out. Give me the Chiefs 30, give me the Giants 23, another one-score game. Um, this is the kind of year where I think, given the ridiculous difficulty of the schedule, it was going to be kind of tough for the Giants and the whole NFC East in that regard. The Eagles are a little bit above the rest, as much as it pains me to say that. They are the world champions for a reason, guys. Yeah, I just can't see the Chiefs going 0-3. I want to be wrong. I really, really want to be wrong. But Sunday Night Football is going to be exciting. It's a novelty game because it's rare that you see these two teams play. Last time they locked horns, if my memory serves me right, it was a Monday Night Football game, and I believe it was the 2020 season, if my memory serves me right, and the Giants lost a close one. It was either 20 or 21, but I do remember the Giants losing a close one. Chiefs did not play their game. Last time the Giants have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs, you got to go way back to Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, but it was Alex Smith that the Giants defeated in the 2017 season. Unfortunately, during that game, I actually had spent some time in the hospital. And just a little shout out, Robbie Chosen, formerly known as Robbie Anderson. His mother was actually my nurse. So it is a small world. And she, of course, saw me in my Giants gear. And she told me, I'm glad you're feeling better, da-da-da, but you're wearing the wrong hat. But good show tonight. I'm going to give myself the pat on the back. I'll tell you the truth. I enjoy sometimes doing the one analyst stuff because I feel that it times me to be proficient with the way I'm seeing these games, but not to overanalyze every inch of it because, sometimes less is more. I try to hit you guys with credible, reasonable honesty as to why I think certain games are going to go certain ways. Of course, New York Giants, as always, please prove me wrong. But I know that, part of the thing when you're a fan, it's about the journey. It's not always going to be pretty. And to be quite frank with you, it's difficult. It's difficult to kick it on the chin, so to speak. And that's what the New York Giants have done essentially since, the 2013 season. They did get to the playoffs in 16. We know about the boat trip. 22, the Daniel Jones game over Minnesota. It's been a lot of misery in between. The journey of being a fan is hoping that your team is building the right way. And I do think this particular Giant team has some talent. I like what I saw in Dallas on the offensive side of the ball. Marcus Embo playing left tackle right now for an injured Andrew Thomas. I wish he would have started the game and maybe we would have won. If Hudson didn't get 4 penalties on one fucking drive. God, that was terrible. That was terrible. But, yeah, I'm going to get on Idris playing around with him because, Nast was like, hey, Idris is awake tonight. But, like I said at the top of the hour, new cancer survivor needs your rest. I know Idris went through a lot, and I'm just so very grateful that we have Idris for all these shows and in the future. Idris, quite frankly, is like my big brother, man. A mountain of knowledge, a mountain of wisdom, and a man that I probably call my co-host, Mike Zappi, San Antonio, Texas. We talk a lot off air. I know Zappi's been very busy with all his kids' athletic endeavors. They are all doing great out there in San Antonio, but Zappi, super busy man, but definitely still part of the team here as well. We'll be working Brett back in as well soon. Shouts out to Johnny Nast. Definitely appreciate his efforts. He's been coming around a lot more here, and I will be going on his show, the Sports Corner show, dual support, and always down to talk football with anybody who wants to talk it. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. Check out the V-Mix, the Vicious Mix with my guy, Idris Salam, on live365.com. What else we got? Casual Convo Wednesdays, every 8 to 10. Check out Chanel. She'll be joined by our guy Q, Mr. Paul, and Jude. So definitely check out the Casual Convo show as well. Get at me in the comments, guys. Let me know how I did. So I'll be real with you. It's been a hot minute since I've done an hour-long show by myself, but I am always up for a critique. I always want to know what you guys think. What do you guys want us to do a little different around here? Because, we're only as good as our fans, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, I am Richie. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and enjoy Sunday. Monday morning, I will be giving you my Monday night preview, and I'm sure we're going to be sprinkling in a little preview for the NBA, which is just around the corner. We're going to be talking and speeding up on some basketball as well. And of course, in Major League Baseball, the pennant race is starting to heat up. Have a wonderful day, everyone.